This is a tough one. I'm talking about a location today, Pangaea Castle, which is of course part of geography, but is it more of a geography is everything video, or is it more of a One Piece theory video? I don't know. Better throw the theme song in just to be safe. Yeah, I'm gonna start playing that theme song in front of every video, because as we all know, geography is everything. Even videos that aren't related to One Piece. You know, I'll be making a Bleach video whenever the anime comes back, and like, welcome back to Bleach episode 5 of the Thousand Year Blood War arc. Yeah, exactly. All right. So I already did a geography is everything about all of Marijois, you know, talking about the city where the celestial dragons live, as well as like the actual layout of Pangaea Castle itself. So we're not going to go too much into the structural layout of Pangaea Castle, although I might go into that a little bit. It is where the king of the entire world apparently lives, so that's kind of important to bring up. But here's the thing. I was like sitting around the other day, and I just thought, I'm like, okay, we got a lot of information during Reverie. Like a bunch of, like a boatload of exposition Oda just dumped in our laps, and it's just like, here you go, Reverie. There's only like 4 or 5 chapters of it. I'm gonna give you guys a lot of information. Oda even came out and said, I would recommend you to go back and maybe reread some of those chapters for events that are gonna occur later. So we got a lot of stuff to unpack there. One of the things that is just included in Reverie that's not really like a big deal at the moment is we get the name of the castle. Now, we've seen this castle plenty of times in One Piece, even as far back, I think the first time we saw it was right after Crocodile was defeated, so right after Alabasta, when we introduced Doflamingo and Kuma as other members of the Warlords, and Mihawk was there. That's when Sengoku was introduced. They were all meeting at that council to try to figure out what to do now that one of the Warlords has been defeated, right? We get to see it right there, and we see it, you know, throughout the story. But the first time it was actually named was during the Reverie arc, and it was named Pangaea Castle. And nobody else really references the name. We just get it in a title card, you know, welcome to Pangaea Castle. You know, Neptune or nobody else like Dalton or anybody like brings up like, oh, Pangaea Castle, that's an interesting name. What's the origin of it? It's just one of those things that gets slipped in and didn't really even think about it at the time. Pangaea is, of course, as I'm sure all of you guys know, the ultimate supercontinent, which is the origin of all geography. I wish I could time travel and live on Pangaea. That would be a great way to spend my retirement years, just living in all of geography at once. Here's an image of Pangaea as it existed back during the Mesozoic era. But of course, that was the, you know, ultimate supercontinent that eventually broke up, and then we have all the continents that we have right now. We got North America, we got South America, we got Australia, we got Africa, we got Europe, we got Asia, and little Antarctica, just hanging out down there. I'd like to visit Antarctica too. I'd like to high-five a penguin. Come on, that would be pretty cool, right? So yeah, I think pretty much everybody was aware of the name. You've at least heard it before, right? And the origin of the name, it's just Pan and then Gaia. It's both ancient Greek words pushed together, and, you know, translation, you know, the way you pronounce it has changed over the centuries as well. But, you know, Pan is just ancient Greek for all, or whole. And then Gaia being Mother Earth, and we talked about Gaia a couple videos ago when I was referencing Pika, because there was that wrestling match that Heracles had with Adeos, who was the son of Poseidon and Gaia, and that got us into a whole conversation about Greek mythology, so that's another reason I wanted to talk about this today. By the way, I wanted to bring up, I kind of brain farted on that video, but Gaia is in fact a primordial. I was kind of blanking on what Gaia was considered, because I know Gaia, she was not a, you know, Greek god, you know, Poseidon was, but she wasn't, and she also wasn't a Titan because Gaia actually gave birth to the Titans. Actually, if I remember this correctly, Gaia gave birth to Uranos, the god of the sky, and then they had children. This is Greek mythology. This happens a lot. And then I think the Titans are born from that union. But Gaia is a primordial. She's literally Mother Earth. Like, all of the Earth is Gaia. Like, quite literally, okay? So Pan, Gaia, Pangaea, that's the origin of the name. The origin, the etymology of the word, okay? So, I've heard of it before, but didn't actually stop to think. I'm like, wait a second. Why does the castle have that name? Seriously, think about it. Like, okay, Marijois is located at the top of the Red Line, which is, you know, kind of in the center of the world, alongside, like, the equator, where our world would be, although in One Piece everything's kind of tilted diagonally, so it'd be, like, one in the, right in the X. X marks the spot right there, see? And this is kind of the origin of this video, because there was an SBS question in Volume 91 after the Reverie arc was over, and you gotta understand, Oda gets a lot of questions. Probably hundreds, if not thousands, of letters every single solitary day from fans of the most popular manga all over the world. Oda gets letters, SBS questions, and stuff. Can you imagine how many letters Oda has probably gotten revolving around the One Piece? Can you imagine how many, people are out there, just like me, just like you, that are theorizing, trying to figure out what the damn One Piece is, where's it going to be located, the circumstances for how, the Straw Hats are going to find it, and they're like, wait, Oda, I think I cracked the code! Did I get it right, Oda-sensei? He must get thousands of just the One Piece questions related to that alone. Oda does not usually include a lot of the One Piece related questions into the SBS. We gotta reserve, first off, we gotta reserve like 30% of the SBS for boob related questions. That's like, that has to be set aside immediately, right? And then we gotta set another like 20% aside for things like draw Luffy but with a cowboy hat. I'm like, okay, I'll do that, sure. And what's Gaimon's favorite food? I'm like, well, I'll include that, right? But then you got that question from Volume 91, and the question was, hey, Oda-sensei, Pangaea Castle. That's kind of an interesting name for it. Are you referring to the supercontinent Pangaea? And is that where the One Piece is? You gotta hand it to that person right there. They're just diving straight in like, hey, Oda, Pangaea Castle. That's where the One Piece is, right? Right, buddy? You gotta hand it to, who was it? Shock Ninja from somewhere. He's like, Shock Ninja's like just bringing it. Like, that's where the One Piece is. Final answer. Lock it in. And so I'm surprised Oda even put that in the SBS, but he answers with like, yes, the supercontinent Pangaea. Yeah, of course I borrowed the name. That's where it comes from. As for the meaning behind the name, as for the reason why I gave the castle the name Pangaea, I won't tell. Oh, Oda, you kidder. How hilarious would it have been if, like, he actually just answered the guy's question, like, straight up. Like, nope, One Piece isn't there. Or, oh no, yeah, you definitely guessed it. One Piece is there. It's been there the whole time. Straw Hats are gonna go there eventually. They're gonna find it. So, yeah. Like, he's like, hey, you just came out and asked me the question, Shock Ninja. I'll give you a response. So that was the thing that kind of bugged me a little bit, and another reason why I'm talking about this today is it also kind of ties back to a popular theory, and I've made a video about this before, where, and there's different aspects of this theory, there's different ways you can take it, but the general premise of the theory is that either all the islands in the One Piece world originated from the Red Line. So the Red Line is essentially the Pangaea of the One Piece world. Alright, it's the only continent, and then it kind of, well, it still is technically the only continent, but it was like the only landmass. Like, just a ring around the entire world was just the Red Line. And then parts of it broke off, and that's where all the islands came from. So the Red Line was actually, like, a lot bigger, but then it got broken up. That's one way you could take the theory. Another way you could take the theory is that the Red Line is actually not naturally occurring. It was somehow artificially forged by the world government during the Void Century, maybe because of one of the ancient weapons or something else they had back then, and it was used, and fans of my channel for a long time will keep up to this. This is actually where the origin of Geography is Everything comes from. I was talking about the world government in one of my videos, one of my older videos, and I mentioned the reason the world government is so powerful is because they are on top of the Red Line, literally taking advantage of geography. You can't invade Marijois unless you're Fish or Tiger, because it's on top of this giant mountain and everything. So the normal people, the citizens of One Piece, really have no hope of, like, overthrowing the Tenryubito, even if they wanted to, because geography is everything. Yes, exactly. It all comes around, just like the Red Line, right? So, because the Red Line gives you such a geographical advantage, maybe it was something that wasn't naturally occurring. Maybe it was just like whoever claims the top of the Red Line, whoever gets King of the Hill, rules the entire planet. Or they use some kind of technology back in the day and they're like, okay, there's islands all over the world, everybody's scattered, we're just gonna create giant wall literally separating the earth into two halves, and then the Grand Line separates it into fourths, and then we'll build our castle and our entire city on top of it. No one can invade it, and you can't get armies up there, so we'll be set. and it seems like something the world government would do, you know? I mean, like, if they could do it, they would definitely do it if they had the means. Now, I'm not saying they have the means anymore. That was the Void Century. That was over 800 years ago. Maybe they used some kind of ancient weapon. Maybe there's that other theory that the world before the Void Century was actually very technologically advanced, maybe even more technologically advanced than like our world is right now. Then when the world government took over, they kind of delved everything, they kind of knocked it back a few centuries, right? And Vegapunk is like, he's a scientist, he's a genius, but he's more of like not just coming up with this stuff on his own. Maybe Vegapunk is just more or less rediscovering the technology that already existed before the world government's day. That's another theory I'm a big fan of, okay? All of these things, though, kind of tie back to the Red Line in some way. And because Pangaea Castle is at the top of the Red Line, I would say the name Pangaea refers to the Red Line in some way. Whether it be because all islands, all land masses originated from that point, so we're going to call it Pangaea Castle, or the world government literally created it at the end of the Void Century to exert their dominance on the world, and just as sort of like, well, we literally own the only continent on the entire planet that spans the entirety of the planet. We will name this castle Pangaea Castle. All of Mother Earth is under our domain. And is that not some of the most arrogant things you can think of that the Tenryubito could do? Yes, it is, because that's what they do. That's kind of their deal, right? Okay. So, yeah. Now, is the One Piece there? Or, like, where is where Shock Ninja was basically going? Because, yeah, if you look at the One Piece globe tilted like this, with even, like I said in a previous video a couple weeks back, even the anime gets that wrong sometimes. Even the anime will show the globe like this, when in reality, I believe Oda intends it to look like this, because that actually separates it into north, south, east, and west properly, with the red line and the grand line kind of separating it diagonally like this. But when you do that, you get two X's. You get an X marks the spot right where they intersect at Marijois, you know, at that part of the red line, also technically where Fishman Island is, just under the red line. And then, on the other side, you get Reverse Mountain, which not only does it have the X there from the Grand Line and the Red Line, but also Reverse Mountain. I mean, if you look at the thing, it kind of looks like an X in and of itself, just because of the streams, the rivers that go up it and then go down, the canals. Kind of looks like an X in that regard, too. That's a popular theory that's existed for literally, like, I want to say over a decade now, for probably, like, ever since maybe the Reverse Mountain was introduced, and we found out a little bit more about the One Piece world. So probably, like, in the early 2000s, people were piecing this together. Like, wait a second, you know. And also, it comes back to the all blue theory, too, to Sanji's dream of finding the all blue. It's like, if Sanji wants to find an ocean where all of the, all sea life, all fish in the sea are in one specific location, it would only make sense. The only two places that could possibly exist are either underneath Marijois, where Fishman Island is, which is something that actually Sanji did declare the all blue, not because of the fish, well, because of the mermaids, you know, or it would be under Reverse Mountain. You know, or something like that, you know. And of course, if you're going to travel the entirety of the Grand Line, you get to the end of the New World, we don't know specifically where Lodestar or Laugh-Tale are, but it's possible Laugh-Tale, like, could be right, like, here's Reverse Mountain right here, and this is where you go up, and then Laugh-Tale could be, like, right here, like, right at the end of, Reverse Mountain, on the opposite end of it. It could be located, like, right there. And so there you go. Another theory regarding that is that at the end of the story, the Grand Line, not the Grand Line, but the Red Line is going to be destroyed by the ancient weapons, or possibly by Luffy doing something. I always imagine, and I find this hilarious, I always find it funny that if the Straw Hats were to reach Laugh-Tale and then find the One Piece, and they find, like, a button, maybe a button to unlock the ancient powers of, like, Pluton or some shit, and there's, like, a letter, something like a poneglyph or something that Roger etched into it, or I guess Odin etched into it or something, and it's like, we made it to this island, we found this button, if you press it, you will destroy the Red Line, and Marijois and everything else will fall, but keep in mind, Fishman Island will also be destroyed, it'll cause massive tsunamis across the entire planet, you're literally crumbling an entire continent, so it's gonna cause severe damage, so we maybe the reason why Roger said we're too early is, like, we need the power of, like, Poseidon in order to make this work, like other prerequisites, but just letting you know, if you push this button, like, an entire continent is going to be destroyed. Luffy would push that button before they even finish reading the damn... Like, Luffy's like, huh, what? What does that say? What, Robin, what did it say again? Oh, I don't know, I just kept pushing it. Luffy, no! You know, like, that... I want that to happen, kinda, because that would be hilarious. And we would eliminate Marijois, and then we can use the Noah to evacuate all the fishermen and merfolk off of Fishman Island, and they can build their new island on the rubble of the Red Line where Marijois used to be, and the Tenryubito city gets destroyed, and Castle Pangaea gets destroyed as well. So there's all about that. Now, going more onto what is inside the actual castle, something else I wanted to bring up here. Yeah, you got some fancy rooms there. You got the flower room. You got the swimming pool garden area. You got the room of authority. You got the room with the empty throne and all that stuff. You have to imagine, Eam has been living in this castle. We don't know what Eam is exactly, but if Eam has been keeping himself or herself a secret from the world, Castle Pangaea has to pretty much have everything. And we've seen, if you look at the castle from a distance, you know, even compared to the rest of the city of Marijois, Castle Pangaea is huge. You could probably fit the entirety of that city next to Castle Pangaea inside of the Castle Pangaea itself, right? Because the damn thing is huge. So it makes sense that, like, if Eam is some kind of immortal ghost or zombie or vampire, blah, I'm Eam-sama, lives in Castle Pangaea for 800 years, it would make sense that nobody would ever see the person, or, you know, only very limited people like the Gorosei or like their private servants, because the place is so damn big. You know, Eam probably has his own private little Cineplex. Maybe if Eam wants to go play hockey, you know, there's a hockey rink there. He's like, Eam's got everything, you know, set up. It's fine, right? But also, we got the secret dungeon. The secret dungeon where Eam went down there and we saw the giant straw hat that's frozen in the giant freezer in the secret dungeon. Kind of curious right there. So, you know, that might not be the One Piece, the great treasure that Roger spoke about and everything on Laugh Tale, but that might be some kind of treasure. It might be more symbolic, if anything else. Like, it could be a thing where it's like Pangaea is the, you know, the supercontinent where all of the Earth land masses originated from. Well, it all comes to where that Straw Hat is. Maybe the Straw Hat used to be Joy Boys. In fact, the Straw Hat was probably Joy Boys, the original, you know, progenitor of all that. And so maybe it was something that Joy Boy did that caused the Red Line to be created or caused the continents to be separated. We want to think Joy Boy is like a good person right now, and everything that we know about him, the very limited things that we know about Joy Boy, like the apology letter he left at Fishman Island, we want to think Joy Boy was like a good person and was like the originator of the Will of D and, you know, Roger and Luffy and everybody. But you got to keep in mind also, like, okay, I'm trying to word this in a way here, like, okay, if we're going along like the Dungeons and Dragons alignment charts here, with like lawful good being the most like the clearest paragon of goodness and like heroics that you can think of, all the way to chaotic evil, where would you put Luffy and Roger on the alignment? Because they're definitely not lawful good. Like chaotic good, something like that. So my point is, you know, Joy Boy might have ended up being a lot more like chaotic, kind of like Luffy and Roger were. So, like, he might have done something that like, okay, well, I'm gonna try to get rid of the world government, but I'm gonna do something crazy that could risk destroying the entire world in the process. That's what I'm getting across here, okay? So it's like, yeah, Joy Boy got his hands on Pluton. Alright, I'll fire it at the world government's base. Hope this works. And then as a result of that, blew up part of the Red Line and created a bunch of, like, different land masses and shit. And messed with the Earth's, like, tectonic plates or something. Like, it could have been something like that with Joy Boy, alright? He's not gonna be the kind of person that's like, well, we're gonna fight against the world government, but I'm not gonna do anything too insane or too messed up or too risky. If Joy Boy was the original bearer of the Will of D that was carried down to Roger and Luffy and all those other people that carry it, probably Buggy, he probably did some crazy shit. He probably did something really crazy, really risky that might have, even if he didn't plan it to be, accidentally creating the world that we know now. So, that's the situation there. And that might be the symbolism of, like, Castle Pangaea, X marks the spot on the planet, right there is where you find the Straw Hat, origins of Joy Boy, and all that stuff. I really wanted to come back to that theory, the Red Line creation theory in some way. And something else, I'll leave it out here. It's a little bit of a shorter video than I normally do, but I'll leave it out here. I think Oda, Oda's done so many SBSs and so many interviews and stuff. Please correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe at one point, Oda kind of responded to the question of, like, hey, what happens if somebody out there correctly predicts the end of One Piece? Or what happens if somebody out there correctly, like perfectly nails where Laugh Tale is, or the significance of the One Piece, or exactly what the One Piece will be? Will you change it? And I am remembering that Oda said yes, he would, which, don't think of it like Oda freaking out at the last minute, like, oh crap, somebody figured out what the One Piece is, I gotta change it at the last minute. No, I took that to mean that Oda has been writing this story for so damn long. I like to think Oda has multiple endings for this story planned. Like, after 23 years of writing after 23 years of writing the damn thing, he's probably thought of a few ways he could end it. You know what I mean? Like, he's probably thought of a few things the One Piece could end up being. A few roads he could take with this. Or he could merge the roads. He'd be like, oh, somebody figured out what the One Piece was. Okay, well, I'll take Route 4 and Route 6 and merge them together to kind of make this. And it's still something that came from Oda. So I like to think of it like that. So I guess we'll see. Well, I guess we'll find out. Thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking and Barry scratching another thing off the list. What's the next one we got to talk about? Oh, wait, no. Okay, I saved the Earth. No, something we gotta do before we continue with the list. We gotta finish up that Fullbringer series for Bleach. So I think tomorrow we'll be tackling Jackie Tristan's video so we can finish up the Fullbringers. Okay, I got a little too bit sucked into the list, as it tends to do. Okay, well, thanks for watching, everybody. Tekking, signing out.